Hi, Toby.
Hi, hello.
Hi. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Fine. I'm very happy actually that we're doing this. And thank you for agreeing to be part of my International Women's Day celebration for 2021. Whoop, whoop.
Hey.
So basically, for those who don't know you, please share your name, what you do, where you live, and your favorite breakfast.
My favorite breakfast. Oh,
Yeah.
I like this one. My name is Tobi Hamilton. I am the founder of the House Lagos, one of my many jobs. But yeah, I'll focus on that for now. And my favorite breakfast is a full English or Indomie.
And for those who don't know Indomie, what is Indomie? And how do you take it?
Indomie is this amazing noodles, packed noodles. I cannot say it's good for you, but it's quick, it's tasty, and honestly, it just makes me feel warm and fuzzy and gets the job done. So yeah, or a full English breakfast.
Full English. Okay, all right,
Yes.
all right. Okay, I like that. Okay, fantastic stuff. So you said that you are the founder of the House Lagos amongst many jobs. So
Yeah.
it seems to me like you are a serial entrepreneur. Oh, actually, I know this. So what does that feel like? What's that journey like? Just tell us about it.
With a mentality of being undefined. I don't want to be boxed. I don't want to overthink what I'm doing. So I just kind of roll with it. And it helps me. I think I work better with that mentality.
Wow. You want to be undefined. You don't want to be put in a box. What does that mean
Yeah.
for Tobi Hamilton?
What that means for me is, people call me an entrepreneur. I still find myself desperate or wanting to work in the corporate world. I mean, I really want a job, but people tell me I have a job, and I'm like, oh, that's true. But so what I then did was I changed my mentality towards my brand, and rather than going through all the stages of entrepreneurship, like resenting, stress, I turned it into my job. So it became, okay, I'm an employee to my brand. And I realized over time that made me want to be undefined, meaning I do want to have a job, but I also want to be an entrepreneur. So I don't want anybody to call me either or, because I just don't know. Every day I wake up, I go to work. So I'm an employee. But then people go, oh, you're an entrepreneur. And I'm like, really? I don't, it doesn't feel like it. So I realized that the approach I use towards my businesses is that of a corporate organization, but still with that sense of ownership of this has to work because it's actually mine. No one is going to make it work. So there's a hybrid I put into those two mentalities that makes me just want to be undefined.
Undefined. Oh, okay. And I heard something just this morning, actually, that for you to be a leader, you must first have served and worked on the shop floor. So it sounds like that is an approach that you take as well. So, so while you have, skin in the game of your brand, you're also serving your brand.
So yes, I go to work every day. I serve my employees, I serve my clients, and I serve myself.
Ooh, okay, I like that, and I think that that leads very nicely into the principles and the values that have helped you to be successful, because you've mentioned servitude, which I think is a key one. You talked about working extremely hard. So what other values and principles do you hold dear?
I think as a woman, I have been evolving in different stages. At this current stage, I would say I'm driven by a few values and fears, actually. So it's not just driven by what I want to happen is also driven by what I don't want to happen. So I have this major phobia for going back into poverty. I have come from, I don't want to say a hard life, or because I don't think that means anything. I think everyone has to find their way through life. So what that means is I'm not going back to where I'm coming from. That drives me more than sometimes my values at this current stage. Some days I wake up and I'm just angry as to the economic landscape of the Black man or Black woman, and the lack of definition of what we bring to the table in the world or the economic landscape. And that makes me understand, okay, I need extreme excellence and discipline to get myself to that table, then drag everyone with me. Some days it's the fact that I think as a Black Nigerian, there's so much integrity that has gone into who we are as people, from our ancestors to our parents to, schooling, growing up a Yoruba girl. There's just so much values and culture instilled in you. And sometimes I wake up and that's what I feel like upholding. So in terms of what drives me mainly, I don't want to put one thing on it, but I'd probably say fear of poverty, the will to see my entire family and friend excel, because I think we have the basic of what it takes for people to do well in life. And I don't see why we should be struggling through that. And sometimes it's just simple ambition. We can, so we should.
Good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you touched on something there, which I find extremely interesting. You talked about, the values and then the fears as well. And for most people, fears can be like, you just almost feel stuck. The fears kind of hold you back. They inhibit you instead. So how do you, sort of channel your fears into, I guess, success or actions?
So I believe in doing. I don't believe in talking or thinking. That's the first drive for me. So I have carefully polished that side of me over time. When you think, you're too busy thinking. When you talk, you're too busy talking. But when you do, you do. And at the very worst case, someone is going to say, "Ooh, that was not good enough," or "it could be better," but at least you're doing. So I turn my fear into a form of action. That action could be, right now you're afraid. What do you need to do? You need to take a walk. So I act on the fear. So over time, acting on my fear has now made my fear almost actionable. I can action it. When I feel it, I can action something that will curb it, banish it, or tame it to an extent, and give me that sense of fake confidence in that moment, or whatever you want to call it. And it just pushes me over the edge. So I just act. I focus on discipline and doing, as opposed to thinking and talking. Yes. So there is that. For me, I create theories in my head. So I say I do D&D, not TNT.
Nice. Okay, I do D&D. Yeah. Okay. So just
so
and then do it.
And doing and not thinking and talking.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
That's amazing. And something that I just sort of thought about now is, a lot of, I've spoken to quite a few ladies, and something that's very common is, imposter syndrome, right? And again, that comes from that fear of, I'll be discovered, that I don't know, what they expect me to know, even though maybe that's not necessarily the case. So you talked about your fears, but did you know that you could overcome those fears, or did you just think, I still have to do it, so I have to channel this? Or like, what was that, in fact, or do you remember the first time you sort of thought, I have to channel this?
So it's so funny you asked me that, because today all I spent time talking about everyone on my Instagram page was how much of an imposter I feel every day. But in a weird way, it drives me because I'm like, oh, you're a fraud. I'm like, but you're not though. Then I start playing this like game with myself. And I'm like, well, you know what? Yeah. So, okay, to bring it back, what I'm trying to say is it does not leave you. I don't know if that's because of what we've been through as a race, what we women have gone through, trying to find a seat at the table. For me, I still question every day what I should be doing. So I wake up and I'm like, shit, I really should have made my husband breakfast. And I'm like, oh, but that's not really my job. And I'm like, oh, but I need to do my work. And I'm like, so who am I? Am I an ambitious woman? Am I a good woman? So every day I still question myself. I mean, in this interview right now, I'm literally thinking, what the hell are you talking about, babe? But I'm gonna do it anyway and then figure it out after.
Yeah.
But imposter syndrome, I don't think it's something that can ever be eradicated when you're speaking about a minority.
Yeah.
So I think there's the acceptance first that we might live with it for a long time. So I play tango with mine every day. Like we exist together and we figure it out every day. Yes. Like who's gonna win today, me or you?
Yeah.
And whoever wins, I accept it and I try again. Yeah.
I love that.
But I can't say I have fully eradicated my imposter syndrome. And I believe in more partnerships and collaborations. And when we start learning to talk about each other, we will eradicate imposter syndrome ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Yeah. Amazing. And because, I mean, I'm coming just off the back of, imposter syndrome, and we've talked about this before where, as women, we almost feel like to do, and especially as Black women, to do something, we feel like we have to prove that we've already done it before. We've already been successful at it before sort of putting ourselves forward for, a role or something. On the flip side, our male counterparts just feel like I'll learn on the job, right? And so given your path at the moment, which is entrepreneurship, or actually running or managing brands rather, where you have to maybe, for example, fundraise and deal with, I guess, a lot of male colleagues. How do you manage, those encounters, and do you come across any challenges or stereotypes along the way?
Absolutely. So I really like this question because it's deeper for me than just the act of feeling these obstacles. First of all, I don't compete with men. I'm a woman. Like we're not equal. I don't want to be equal. I'm the supreme being in terms of how I think, how I process, how I love, how I execute, how emotional it gets for me. And I think the first thing I try to do is, first of all, not even compete. So I want to study the differences between me and my male counterparts, then I use it to my advantage. For example, the same way we say women encounter problems, you will actually find that statistics have shown it's actually easier for women to raise money than men. So sometimes I wonder if we also sit in male-dominated statistics as opposed to realizing what our power is and just start walking that line. So first things first, I already know there's a bias, so I don't exist in it. I already kind of predict what could be thought about me, and I start with that. I lead with that first of all. So if I'm going into any presentation, my first thing is I am not a man. And that's the benefit of having me here first, because you're getting empathy, you're getting an emotional being, you're getting a strategist, you're getting a cost efficient human. So all the skills they used to embody us as beings, you just use that and flip it around. So I'm a woman, you want to keep me at home. Why? Because I manage your money well. Fantastic. Now, can we scale that up a bit and let me be your CFO and I manage your business money? No. And for me, I had to do that so that I don't get limited by the obstacles, because it's already designed that way. And that's the fight itself. So first of all, I do not compare myself. So I'm not even trying to do what the man is doing. First of all, I have a bed in my office. That's against the manly, process of things. But that's what you're getting. You're getting everything you don't have. So I don't really exist in that world. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to just kind of interrupt you there. Sorry, it's just because it just sounds like you already understand the biases that exist there, be
yes,
it gender,
yes,
cultural, whatever the case
yes,
may be. And then so
yes,
you've done your research on that. You understand the value that you would bring to them, and then you come first and foremost with all of those things, like
yes.
boom, this is
and then that way it already counters and hopefully helps me with some of the predisposed bias that already exists. But what I want to do is, I don't want to sit with you in your stereotype, because that is what is going to harm me as well on my journey. So I use that as ammunition to then lead the way, so that we can have that conversation properly. If you have any issues with my gender, we can actually discuss that. But I must say, it didn't happen overnight. I had to sit in those biases for a long time and study them and understand the roots of where they are coming from. Some of these things are actually subconscious, meaning the people who are extending the bias to you are not even conscious of what is going on in their head. Yeah. So sometimes you're actually working with someone's subconscious, which I cannot stand to do. So I want to bring it to your conscious so we can discuss it and then, take it from there. Yeah.
And because we've talked about this, this approach to, facing, I guess, just getting your work done effectively. And
basically,
and the values that you hold as well. Where did you learn these?
After being stifled for about 10 years and literally just being an observer, I think I learned from that. So, in the beginning, you said to be a good leader, you almost have to follow. So I think I'm naturally a good follower. I don't have any problem serving. Mm-hmm. So if I work under a bad boss, I don't look at him and judge his entire character on that. All I take from it is, you're a bad boss. Now I need to write your qualities down. So I'm not going to be a bad boss like you. But at the same time, there's a reason you're in this position. So I want to know, is it because you're an asshole? Is it because you're ruthless? And I just write all the things down, and then I start to just study what makes people who they are. So you start to find other explanations and theories within people's actions in the world, or in the workplace. I mean, I think the world is work anyway. Just our existence is a job. So so I don't know. I think I just kind of studied a lot. I try not to be judgmental. I take the pain and I just find a way, and I think, okay, this is who I'm not going to be. This is who I'm going to be. But you are successful, even though I don't want to be like you. Why is that? Yeah. And then I just pick different things and I make up a story for myself, and I just work with that.
Oh, and what's the story that you've made for yourself?
It's, look, at the end of the day, every human is figuring out their purpose. So on your journey, try not to let somebody else's purpose cause you to be confused. Just sidestep and make sure you are going according to your purpose and you're not upset somebody else has done something to you going on their purpose and their journey. So you must be clear on your journey so that you are not playing victim with the world and with life in general, because life knows no face. Yeah. It just does what it does, and you just need to plug yourself inside it, really. So that was the story I told myself.
That's the story you told yourself. And yeah. So I have because you've talked about, so I'm just kind of thinking through everything we've discussed now. You've talked about fears, you've talked about still taking action, you've talked about being ambitious as well. And just so it sounds like you are a go-getter and you will take the necessary risks basically to get to where you think you want to go. Does that sound right?
Yes, good calculated risk. So I'm all about impact and simplicity of life. What that means is that I'm not going to be rushed through anything. I'm going to go at it at my pace. Yep. So if you bring those two together, it means they're calculated risk, they're impactful risk. They're value added risk. They're not just risk. Mm-hmm. So yes, I think over time, my experience and my orientation has built me to have a large appetite to be able to get what I want done. Yeah, I'd say that, yes.
And okay, yes. You've mentioned the house, and which has been around for like what, 3 years?
Just about 3 years, yes.
About 3 years now, right? And yes. you also have your fingers in other pies.
Yes.
I'll let you speak on those later. How do you talked about excellence before, right? Mm-hmm. That's very important. How do you ensure that that filters through the organization, right? Because we know the turnover of organizations in Lagos, but the house
yes.
stood, and there's a loyal following. So how do you ensure excellence filters through?
I think it's first of all understanding the people and understanding the market I was coming to play in, and realizing that Lagos, Nigeria is still pegged as a third world country. And in those sort of countries, service is not what leads. So for me, it was bringing a culture of can-do to the average human being and letting them understand that I was willing to put in the work for excellence. And I think there's a law in organizations, and I call it the sheep and the lion law. And I feel like if we organize ourselves for success and ensure we're using the principles that have actually been laid out for time, I think you'll find that doing business across Africa or Lagos can be as rewarding as doing business in the West, but it just takes, double the effort. And the effort is not even in terms of the processes and systems. The effort comes in people and how you kind of communicate, execute, and build your organizational culture and what you want as a person. So for me, I'm all about excellence. I'm all about servitude. I want all of us in the organization to be able to look back and say, wow, we did it. We're an all Nigerian team and we're able to serve our nation, and they're happy and they keep coming back. That feeling for me was more important than anything else. And I ensured I protected that from the beginning up until today. Now that I'm a bit more hands off and I have like a more solid team, they're still translating that excellence. Another thing I did was I built all my processes and systems from scratch, which got everybody involved. So I didn't use any systems to build the house. We did all our data and growth and system building processes from scratch. What that helps to do is it shows people you're willing to do the work. Then it helps them grow organically in ways that you cannot teach. You can't teach it. They're just part of the DNA. So from when people join us, we have a mini training school. It's from your interview process. Everyone interviewing you is going to be on time, even if you're a cleaner. That already resets your mind from the very beginning. You know, you get a contract. Everyone, it's fair and square. You know how the money is being spent. You understand how much the business is making every day. You become invested. So I didn't use the typical startup one-man business approach that has plagued us in Africa for a long time, that hopefully we're going to start solving. It was more building an organization. So I used the banks and the international companies as my prototype, because I felt like they were some of the most successful institutions in Nigeria and something needed to be learned from them. And yeah, that was the approach I took.
Wow, okay. So
and brought that into hospitality.
Into hospitality. Wow.
Yes.
So basically looking out there for, I guess, best practice, essentially.
Yeah.
Building yours from scratch, so not necessarily trying to copy what was already there, but just almost taking like blueprints almost, and then tailoring to what you then wanted to achieve.
Yes. Correct. Yes, correct. And I use the law firms, the bank industry, the tech industry, and what other industry did I use in Nigeria as my prototype? The insurance companies. So they usually tend to have like longevity in terms of organization. And yeah, I just thought, okay, I'm not going to use the hotel or the restaurant blueprint. I'm going to go out there to figure out why the law firms are still standing, why the bank's still standing. So yeah.
Wow. And what's the landscape like in terms of successful female entrepreneurs, and how can we get more of that? Like how can we get more women on this journey?
I think for me it's through partnerships and collaborations. One thing as an African woman or a Black woman that I noticed when I started my journey was most people want something for themselves. There's this self-achievement most people are looking for. And I feel like we need to get to a point where we put that aside and work more on collective achievement first. And I think that would actually uproot a lot more women entrepreneurs, because they're there. We're just extremely very tiny, all just in our little corners. So one of the things I have started doing after setting up my business and realizing I could keep doing it, I decided to change tactic and extend my services to other Black entrepreneur women and actually build their brands for them. It was a very hard decision because I could just do my own thing and, just kind of go on that journey and be a high flyer. But I realized, hold up, I built this in less than 3 years. women are struggling and they have some great products out there. Right. I'm going to figure out how to put my money, invest in, and partner, offer my services, because I'd rather have us have 20 companies than 200 companies. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by that? 20 strong companies can feed 200 small companies. Yeah. But if we all start off creating 200 small companies, we're not going to be able to merge and acquire to make them conglomerates, which when you look at the Western growth of brands and economy, that is really the approach I think that would save us from Africa. So, which is what brings me to the other things I have dabbled in. So I'm currently working with another female entrepreneur right now on her vision. She's building a boutique fitness studio. And I have jumped on that. I started off as an investor, but I have now jumped on that as an operating partner and managing partner, because I need it to be successful. I need it to be so successful. Like, yes, I want it to be the biggest in Africa. It's got nothing to do with me. Like, if this blows, imagine the amount of fantastic trainers we can start having in Africa. Imagine the certificates. Imagine Nike coming into Africa and realizing their brands they can work with properly. So yeah, I think partnership and collaborations and literally rooting for each other. I want her business to be at the top and us gunning for that person. Yeah.
And that is so amazing, because again, the stereotype is, women can't work together, or women, especially, female bosses are, they're hard to work for, they're bitchy. You can't have women together because they'll be catty. But what you're saying is actually that is not true.
It is true. It can be eradicated. So I would say, in my experience, yes, we are, I wouldn't even say we're difficult to work with. We just bring a different sternness and discipline to the table, but we haven't really analyzed it, and we're not giving it words. We're letting people give it words. So people call me a bitch sometimes, and over time I embraced it, because I'm like, it's actually not a bad thing. You people made it a bad thing. And after a while, people stopped calling me that because they realized it wasn't doing nothing for me. If anything, it might be fueling me to kind of be more like tougher and stronger and realize I'm doing something right, because we're all uncomfortable. So I realized that empathy is becoming the order of the day. 2020, I think, has brought a lot of empathy to the table. So I think we just need to change the definition of that word. But I think women are tough to work with. I think we're different to men. If a woman has a vision, oh my goodness, it's she's locked in. It becomes her baby. Like we handle it differently. So I think we just need to figure out what those terminologies are. And stop letting people determine what we are called in the workplace. But yes, it's tough, but you work with men and that's tough. So life is tough. Get over it.
Yeah. So basically, we just need to shape the narrative. Basically,
So I'm not saying it's not tough, or I don't want to be delusional, because we have certain traits that we are working and ironing and figuring out as a collective. And I know for a fact there are more women think they're all the same. We aren't. So maybe the issue is you're just not working with your type of woman as well. So I find that men drift, they know how to keep things on the surface and just kind of get on with work and take what the other man is bringing to the table without looking at any extras. We women just need to do the same, that's all. So when issue comes with a hair color you don't understand, it is not room for judgment. Do the business and let's go. Whereas we're just more vocal. Oh my God, she came with yellow hair and she came with this, and we're just we just need to figure ourselves out. And I think women are different. I found my tribe. I don't get on with every type of woman. I meet some women and I'm quite sure we will not be able to work together. Yeah. Not because you're a bad woman or a good woman, but we're just not gelling at this moment, and that's perfectly fine. So, yeah. And I meet some other women and my goodness, I'm like, this is my soulmate. Like, we should have been in a relationship. Like, I would marry you if I could, because the connection is just so amazing. Yeah. Do you understand? Yeah. And I think once women understand that we're different and we have, you know, pockets of different types of women, we would also get over that notion that we're difficult to work with.
Yeah. I know that's amazing. That's amazing. And so I'm going to get a bit more sort of personal now, because you know you said
no problem.
You work with brands, right? What do you want your story to be?
The woman who makes businesses successful.
Woman who makes businesses successful. And what would be success to you?
Whatever that business determines a success to them.
Okay, so then it's not about you anymore, it's about that business.
Yes. And so for me, I have an impersonal relationship with work. It's work. So yes, so, and that's why I say I work for my brands as well. Their success, I think, has a lot to do with me, and also does not have a lot to do with me.
Okay. And if there is a okay, I'll start with this. So what is your hope for number one, your industry in Nigeria, and for women in Nigeria?
Okay. So I read a caption a few days ago. So my industries actually vary. I'll just focus on the house. So that's in the hospitality, tourism, lifestyle industry. Now, there's a part of Nigeria called Ilashe, and it's a strip of, think Magaluf, think Ibiza, think of like those holiday strips when you go on holiday, or Miami, yeah? And this guy, he's actually, his name is Otoid, and on Instagram. Hopefully he might watch this interview. And his caption said, the individual beach houses in Ilashe is actually a waste of time. If we were to turn the whole strip of Ilashe into a tourism location, it could provide economies of scale for the entire Lagos state. Absolutely. Okay, so I had to tell that story just as a start. My dream, or what I think is possible, is when people come together, they can determine what happens to them. I think for me, when I see more partnerships that are geared towards joint success, joint access, joint revenue, joint collaboration, joint problems, joint risk, I think that will definitely ease the burden, make us faster, make us more agile, and most importantly, give us control over our own commodities. And for me, that's all it is. So it could be in the fashion industry. We're just not collaborated enough. When you think of all the amazing designers we have in Africa, I dream of a world they all come together and build a factory and produce using calendars. And life will be cheaper for them. Hire the Chinese, hire the Indians, just come together and build that amazing factory. And I don't know when we're going to get there, but that's my dream. Economies of scale by coming together.
I love that. That is, yeah, I'm gonna take that away and go sort of marinate on that, because like there's so much to that. There's so many different layers to that. And yeah, no, that's amazing. And I've got one final question is, for that young lady out there who is watching this on Instagram, just probably thinking, oh, well, there isn't really much I think I can do. What would you say to her? And for that young boy as well, who's watching this and just like, please, what are these women talking about? What would you say to him in terms of how he can be an ally as well for women?
Dear young Nigerian, we all came out of a woman. A mother or a woman's role is to, I think, always stabilize, always think ahead, always make sure her children are fed, always make sure, like, our roles are so different. I want you to stop comparing us to men. I want you to see a woman's power. I want you to give her a chance in whatever small capacity she has. If she cooks, encourage her, she'll feed the nation. If she sews, encourage her, she'll clothe the nation. If she shouts, encourage her, she'll discipline the nation.
She will.
Like, whatever you give her and you encourage her and nurture her, she'll multiply it. The nation is where it is because women are not speaking. Trust me, just give them a little bit and they'll multiply it for you. So it's in all our best interest to embrace the woman. And that's coming from me, a woman. I need more women. Yes.
Oh my God, that is amazing. And that's the perfect message for both the woman and the man. Like it's yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. This has been amazing. And there's definitely more that we're going to do in the future. That's for sure. So I'm coming back.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much for being.
You're welcome.
And
this is my first ever interview, so thank you.
I'm happy that you're doing it with me as well. And where can people find you if you want to be found?
Right now I'm still hiding. I'm hopefully with my confidence to come out, and that's me being honest. But my Instagram page is private right now. You can find me on LinkedIn, and you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. Instagram is very personal for me at the moment. LinkedIn kind of I'm very impersonal there, but over the next few months, I'll figure out how to kind of communicate a bit more. Yeah, and I'll take it from there. But for now, I'm still hiding. I'm going to be honest.
And you know what? And that's fine. If anyone wants to reach you, please reach out to me, and I'll pass.
Yes. If you go through Artisan of Life, you can reach out to me, and I'll be available. Yes, please.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.